We're live. Thanks for joining me this morning. The floor is yours. Tell me about your startup and your company.
Connor, great to be here. Thanks so much for the opportunity. I'm excited to chat with you this morning. Arrow solves a problem that really affects everybody, which is that we're all being crushed under this weight to make content every day. I would even argue that our online business profile is more important than our offline profile at this point in terms of discovery and business opportunity. So Arrow is an automated platform. We're using a really great team, some artificial intelligence, some machine learning driven automation to plug directly into your social media business accounts and manage those accounts, posting relevant, engaging content every day. On average, for a small business owner, they're spending 6.5 hours a week. That's 6.5 hours every single week posting content. So Arrow takes that off their plate and allows them to focus on things that make them money, like getting new customers and showing houses or, that next job. So Arrow can be a huge time saver for small businesses.
I think that's great. I think that's very valuable for small businesses. So maybe if you can expand on how you came up with the idea and when you started Arrow.
Yeah, so we originally came up with the idea back in 2019, but didn't start the company until mid to late 2020. So we're into a couple years of the business. My background is big enterprise advertising technology. So I spent 10 years selling technology and media campaigns, working with Microsoft and Disney and Ford and Ryan Seacrest. And a lot of what I did was around optimization. So, if you're spending $500 million a year on media and my technology can save you 3%, that's real money. And I
Mm-hmm.
loved that work. It was super exciting and fun, but it's not exactly chicken soup for the soul. You know what I mean? So after I exited my company back in 2018, I really wanted to focus on small businesses. And I come from a family of small businesses. My parents owned a little retail shop when I was a kid. And even when I was really young, we lived in the back of our shop with our dog, Jake. And so I just know that world very directly and wanted to build technology that really served small businesses.
So can you expand on what you mean by small businesses? Who is your avatar? Is it literally any small business or are you targeting specific niches?
Yeah, so it's two things. One is I'll talk a little bit about the small businesses, and then we definitely have some industry verticals that we focus on. So we think about it more long tail. So these are solopreneurs or micro businesses. These are companies of less than five people. They were usually started for less than $50,000. So they're really, it's not that 50-person, $250 million small business, which is a small business too. So really, it's
Mm-hmm.
solopreneurs and micro businesses. In terms of industry verticals, we've been seeing a lot of traction with real estate agents, insurance agents, and the trades. So plumbers, um, folks who do home gardening and landscaping, painters, roofers, and electricians.
Okay. And can we get into a little more about, you said you seamlessly create content for these small businesses. How does that work and what is the content like? And how seamless is it? I guess, how does it work with artificial intelligence where you're able to just consistently create content on behalf of the small business?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit just more broadly around about social media and like what people post, and then answer that
Yeah.
question more specifically, right? So social media is a really interesting environment in general. Like you can't think of it just as a sales channel, but it is an important sales channel. But it's more than that. It's a social environment, right? So it's like a little bit sales, a little bit conversation, a little bit just networking. Like it's all
Hmm.
that roll in one, which I think what makes it a unique um, social experiment, unlike kind of any other thing we've ever done as as a group of people. So um, the the first thing that I'll say about social media is that a lot of times you're reposting content, right? You're saying, oh, hey, look at this cool industry article, or hey, look at this
Hmm.
a really interesting piece of news. This is what I think about it. So Arrow uniquely solves that because we have over 15,000 RSS feeds connected to Arrow. So just about any industry vertical. We've got, industry news, relevant blogs, corporate blogs, all kind of plugged in there. So you can constantly be reposting content that's relevant to your industry. That's about 60 to 70% of what you should be doing on social media. And then the last part is posting about your company. And Arrow does a great job using our artificial tools, but we have a team as well, humans in the loop, who are really great at social media. So they'll take your logo, they'll take your business, and they'll make a post. Again, using our tools and our team, specifically about your business, who you are and what you do. And we'll get that up on social media. And so people can engage with you as a potential customer as well.
Got it. And then, so how involved is the actual business owner? I guess so. You mentioned earlier, I think around 6 hours a week they're using. How much do you cut that down? How much time are they using when they use Arrow to post per week?
Yeah, so we're a technology company. We built a lot of tech. We have our own proprietary stack, and it's got a lot of robust elements around AI and other things. But from the business owner's perspective, it's a service, and that was really important to us. We didn't want to just like throw another SaaS platform at these business owners. They've got a lot of SaaS platforms already in their lives, everything from their banking to their job scheduling software to everything else. So the core value proposition is, hey, spend an hour a month on this. Meet with our
Hmm.
team. Let one of our account managers run this for you. You can work with a person, not a platform. And so we've taken that 6.5 hours and turned it into less than 10 minutes a week and provided a really high level of service around our technology to really make this hands-free for the business owner, because it's just got to be hands-free for them.
Hmm. No, I think that's a really strong value proposition. And maybe if we can get into the cost that, so you take all that work off their plate. If I'm the small business owner, how much does that cost me? And I don't know what the revenue model is. Is it a per month subscription?
Yeah, correct. So we're a SaaS company. It's we've got a couple different plans. One's $49, one's 129, but our most popular plan is $79 a month. So we wanted to make it really affordable as well. We can do that because we have got a ton of automation and we're more of a scale play. So we've got thousands of businesses, but we think that price point is affordable for many small businesses, and effective. So that's what it costs, $79 a month.
Yeah, I mean, that seems reasonable to me. Are you able to share any sort of ROI numbers or return or a good success story that you've seen? Case
Yeah,
study?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So typically, our users are seeing about 300% increase in engagement in the first 60 days of using Arrow. So that's likes, comments, shares, real interaction through their social media business pages, where often a lot of our users were getting zero interaction, like
Hmm.
zero, like crickets on their social media pages for their business before using Arrow. So 300% increase in engagement. A really good example is a company in the mid-Atlantic states called the Louver Shop. So they've got like uh, 10 different locations, little retail stores that sell these really high-end like blinds and light fixtures. So they rolled out Arrow to each of the local retail shops there, and the managers tell us that they see about 10 to 12 new people every single week walking in that front door who are saying, hey, we saw your post on Facebook. We thought we'd come down to the shop and check it out. So it had just an immediate impact on their business.
And I'm curious, what would you say is the most utilized social media platforms? Is it Facebook,
Mhm.
LinkedIn, Twitter? I mean, when I'm thinking about posting, right, and reposting things, those are the platforms that come to mind.
Yeah, I like that list, and I think that's right. I might leave Twitter off, or is it X now? And then X
Yeah,
Twitter.
yeah, right.
It's like
Whatever it is, right?
your ex wife, your ex husband.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny now that I think about it. X, right? Like, was that on purpose? Your X platform? Anyway,
Hmm.
uh, so I think when it comes to local, Facebook and Meta still is the top. It's the most
Mm.
used platform for local businesses. It's the number one platform for discovery for local businesses. So that means someone finds your service or your store, your business for the first time. So those are the platforms we focus on. But I'm going to throw out one more that a lot of people forget about, and it's actually
Hmm.
really, really important, which is your Google Business Profile, because that
Mm.
affects SEO. And your Google Business Profile has become much more dynamic. The capabilities around it over the last couple of years, like Google's been pushing all these cool new features, so you can post content there.
Mm.
Um, etc. So that's where Arrow is integrated as well. So it can automatically post content to that profile, and that's going to be a big bump for your local discovery and SEO.
Yeah, I'll just comment as a consumer when I'm looking for a restaurant locally. Let's say I go Google Maps is a big
Yep.
application that I use. So I think that's a great call out. I want to shift back and just kind of clarify the use of AI. So is it more that you're using it on the back end and you're able to manage many more small businesses with a smaller team on your end? Is that where the efficiencies come in, or how exactly are you using that on your side?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And let me just put some numbers on that. So when we first started the company, we had no technology, like many,
Mm.
many businesses. We had a team and we had 30 small businesses that we were just working with and posting for them to pilot the idea and the concept of the business. And then we, excuse me, and then we started building tech. So we're now at a point where we've got such automation that one account manager can manage about 250 small business accounts.
Wow.
And so that's been a 10x already. And we think we're going to 10x that again over the next
Wow.
4 months. Um, just because of the level of intelligence and automation that's being afforded. So, yes, we're using AI a little bit different rather than say, and there's some great companies out there that do generative AI that you can log in and do your prompts and get all this, kind of build your content. We're really using AI more, as you said, in the back end to make our platform as automated as possible and deliver on that promise to the small business of, hey, this is done for you. It's hands free. Spend 10 minutes a week on this.
And have you seen that as a value proposition that's really resonated with small businesses that they truly want it to be hands-free? I mean, it seems like that would be the case, but I don't know what the feedback is. Or they say, oh no, I'm going to figure this AI content creation out on my own.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. And I say that not so much in terms of feedback of Arrow, but I think there's both of those market segments out there. I do think there's a lot of folks who are like, hey, no, I'm going to figure these tools out. And, maybe I'll go from 6 hours to 4 hours, but I still want to be the primary, I want to kind of run this myself. But what we find, especially with certain industries, and the trades is a great example of this. But so is the restaurant business, so is real estate agents, so is insurance agents. I mean, these are folks that are like kind of live and die by local discovery, like that next house they're going to sell or that next job they're going to get. So they're spending a lot of time running their
Mhm.
business and doing that. So for those folks, the hands-free proposition, amazing, amazing. And
Yeah.
I can even tell you a little bit more, like anecdotally, on the, I've sit in on a lot of calls and meet with a lot of our users. And when you tell them, like, oh, this is hands free, oh, this is $79 a month, like you just see like the stress in their body and in their face and in their shoulder just like immediately go down. They're like, I love it. So, um, we've gotten really really positive feedback around the company so far.
Very cool. Yeah. So maybe we can kind of go into where you stand today. You mentioned one account manager manages 250 small businesses, and
Yeah,
if you're willing to share, how many small businesses are you working with currently in total?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say thousands.
Okay.
And one of the key growth levers for us has really been partnerships. So,
Mm-hmm.
one of my just philosophies, if you will, about startups in general is that you want to, if you're a small company, you want to partner with a big company. Why do you partner with a big company? It gives you access to resources, it gives you access to a user base, and it gives you access to the most important thing you need as a startup, which is credibility. When
Mm-hmm.
you're a startup, nobody knows you. Nobody cares. No one knows what you're doing or what your tech is. So, you got to turn the world into believers in what you're doing. And the way you do that is by, having a business that people use your product or service or technology, but by partnering with big companies. So we just partnered with the Better Business Bureau.
Mm-hmm.
The BBB is the premier small business organization, accreditation organization in the country. Um, and they have included Arrow in their member benefits. So when Connor Dex Plumbing Service signs up for the Better Business Bureau, they get their accreditation seal, but they get a suite of benefits. Included in that is Arrow. So we've been signing up businesses every single day
Mm-hmm.
from the Better Business Bureau, and that's been really exciting and interesting because it's exactly the kind of businesses that we focus on.
And when a business signs up for the BBB, is it that they are automatically enrolled in the Arrow platform, or do they then have to contact you and express interest?
Yeah, so they get automatically enrolled, which is great. It's part of their benefits. It's excuse me, it's part of their benefits and essentially free to them or included in that package. So they just come right in. They still have to. It takes about 5 minutes to an online sign up process, but it's pretty automated.
So, if you know how many businesses are signing up for the BBB on a daily or weekly basis, I would imagine it's quite a few.
Yeah, it's a lot. If I'm glancing off screen, it's because we've got a Slack channel dedicated to this, and so we see the
Hmm.
signups coming in, and it's just like it's
Very
like a
cool.
rolling, yeah, it's like a rolling ticker of like boop 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 boop, boop, little power
Yeah.
ups. But yeah, I mean the BBB's got 400,000 businesses across the U.S., and so yeah, we just see this as like an incredible opportunity, and we want to replicate this. It's really interesting. I've spent the last couple months diving into the sort of trade association world. There's about
Hmm.
100,000 trade associations in the U.S., representing a little over
Hmm.
uh, uh, um, uh, 30 million people. And it's just this incredible kind of market that's, quite frankly, a bit underserved.
Yeah, 100%. Just my full-time job, I actually work in the insurance space, and so you mentioned insurance agents earlier, and there's a entire national association of insurance agents. So I don't know if you've already looked into that, but that could certainly be another opportunity.
I love it. Absolutely. I'll take a look at that. And yeah, that's exactly the kind of organization that's kind of perfect for Arrow.
Very cool. Maybe we can shift to so further growth plans, and I don't know if you're willing to share, but I'm curious, maybe the past 12 months, what you've done in sales or ARR. I don't know if you're willing to share that, but whatever
Yeah.
glimpse you're willing to give.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit cagey on the actual
Okay.
numbers, but I'll share percentages because I think it'll tell the growth story. We are
Hmm.
currently raising around right now, so I have to be a little bit thoughtful of that.
Got it.
Yeah. But we basically 3x revenue in the last 12 months trailing. And we think we're going to 3x revenue again in the forward looking 12 months. So it's a huge growth trajectory. I think there's a couple of things driving that. One is, we do have product market fit, which is a huge milestone for a company. It's actually when you go from being an idea to a real business. Um,
Hmm.
so was an important milestone that we achieved, plus a real go-to-market strategy. I think also, honing in on these partnerships, showing that we can be a great partner to a big company and deliver on that partnership has been tremendous. So uh, those two things are really working for us. Product market fit,
Hmm.
very strong, repeatable sales motion in a go to market.
Well, very nice. Yeah, I think that's great. You're growing. I'm sure you're happy with the growth. And I don't know if you need to stay mum on this too, but just kind of the funding background. You said you started in 2020. Are you able to share previous rounds, or have you bootstrapped this? And I don't know if you're able to share the current round you're trying to secure and at what valuation.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have raised, we're not bootstrapping. We really see Arrow as a scale play. So moving fast and ramping that revenue and user growth is really important. We raised a little over $1 million in a pre-seed round. We did that at an $8 million valuation on a convertible note. We're negotiating the terms with our lead right now for the next round, but it's modest. We're going to raise 1.5 million. So that'll bring total funding to about 2.5, and that runway will definitely gets us past profitability, and may take us all the way. I think if we do another round after that, it'll be more growth capital. And there's a lot of ways to structure that, maybe even venture debt, et cetera, et cetera. So this might be our last venture round, and we're calling it a seed round.
Very nice. Are you able to share your valuation currently, or what you're seeking at the 1.5?
Yeah, it's sure. Yeah, it's going to be a little over 20 million.
Okay. And so you mentioned profitability. What is the timeline for that? It sounds like it's in the near future.
Yeah, very near future. It really just comes down to whether or not, or it comes down to investment in growth, right? Like we could be profitable today if we pulled back some of our growth
Yeah.
initiatives, right? So, and we're obviously investing in our technology stack as well, even though that's mostly built. I think the primary investment in our technology is behind us, which is great. But we continue to innovate and especially innovate around the front end of our application and like how people interact with us. We want to continue to make that as easy as possible, whether it's through text or conversational AI or some, kind of, we're really rethinking the front end. Um,
Hmm.
but our basic data and backend infrastructures are all built.
Okay.
So yeah, we think it's an exciting time. And look, the consumer business consumer uh, demand for AI products is through the roof. No other way to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're in a very interesting time. And so really quick, maybe just to kind of round out Arrow, I'm curious of the competition with, I mean, you just mentioned it, AI is in high demand.
Yeah.
You said there's a lot of self-serve tools, so it sounds like you're on a great growth trajectory, but who's your competition who could potentially knock you off your current plans?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I'll answer it in a couple different ways. So one is I was just reading this great article by a friend of mine named Alex Lazaro, who's more of a fintech investor and blogger and analyst. But he was talking about AI as a excuse me, as a horizontal um, disruptor as opposed to a vertical disruptor, right? So you're seeing companies launch AI features across just about every industry vertical. So that's one potential competitive set from us is that a lot of companies are innovating in this area. Um, so there's also the legacy platforms, right? You've got the big enterprise platforms that are trying to move downstream and pick up, the SMB market. Though not it's not so much the long tail market that we focus on. And then the last big competitor for us is do nothing. Unfortunately, a lot of small businesses try an agency and then say, forget this, give up, or they find a freelancer and it doesn't work, and they say, forget it. I don't need a Facebook page. I'll just go out and find my own business. So we do see there's it gets back to this idea of the underserved market that we focus on, but we do see a fair number of companies that do that. So that's another big competition, is sort of educating and letting these folks know, hey, actually you do need this, and we can make it affordable and effective for you.
Okay. And one thing I've been thinking through with all this, I guess, AI assisted content creation is,
Yeah.
does it, do we get to a point where there's just too much content being created too easily and it's just being dumped onto Facebook and LinkedIn and X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and then at that point it's just harder to stand out? I mean, is that a thought that's crossed your mind? I just think through this. I mean, for example, I saw a video on TikTok that there's AI tools where you pull a video, you separate the audio, you add your own AI video to it, so it's now your video, and then you just re-upload it. It's just, I see stuff like that going on. It's just a little concerning. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I do, and it's separate from the business of Arrow, right? Like at Arrow, we have a trajectory and a product and a great business, but at a more sort of philosophical level, yes, I share your thoughts there.
Hmm.
What is this going to look like in 5 years? I mean, I have no idea, right? It could be anything from Ready Player One and some
Hmm.
kind of dystopian idea to actually the most biggest jump in productivity humankind has ever seen. And suddenly we've got universal basic income, and we're educating our entire, we're educating everyone here in America, and we've got a radically kind of utopian direction to our society. So which direction are we going to go in? I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah. Do- I mean, like you said, it's progressing so rapidly. I think, do you know? I mean, we'll find out sooner than later, it seems,
Yeah.
or do you think it will take more time in that we're just kind of like, it's like, okay, Chat GPT is here and there's this amazing stuff, but it will only take us so far, or is it just going to continue to progress exponentially, in your opinion?
I think it's going to progress exponentially. I think we're seeing the tip of the iceberg in terms of the technology that we see, right? Like if you think of tech as an iceberg, it's taken 20 years for us to see the first commercial application for artificial intelligence. And now we have hundreds, maybe thousands of applications out there. I'll throw out some other numbers as well. Like when the internet was invented, we got 3 million websites out of it. Then the next big jump was apps, right? And
Hmm.
apps, there's millions of apps, but they're downloaded about 250 billion times a year. So every single year, there's 250 billion downloads of an application. If we think
Hmm.
about AI apps, there's going to be tens of thousands, millions of AI apps. It's hard to know how that's going to shake out, but there'll be a lot of them. And I think they'll be downloaded tens of trillions of times every year, and they'll be customizable, and they'll be totally, so I don't, I think we're about to accelerate in terms of what we as business folks and consumers see from an
Hmm.
AI technology. But where that goes, I mean, it's anyone's guess.
Yeah, and then if you're willing to talk about, you mentioned earlier, right? You see currently an account manager on your team manages 250 small businesses, and then that goes
Yeah.
to ideally 2,500. Um, so maybe just obviously that means I would assume that you just have less staff, and I think that can be applied in terms of AI to lots of industries, right? Basic accounting, lawyers come to mind. What are your thoughts on AI and automation replacing jobs, and then how do we, as a society, cope with that? Or what do you do if you're
Mhm.
uh, if you are um, working payroll or something and your job was replaced by AI? How do we replace all these find new jobs for these people? Sorry, get that out.
Yeah, it's a great question. Do I'm not sure I have a very specific answer, but I do think that there's some ideas that have been suggested in the last couple of years. I mean, universal basic income is one of them. I have kids who are high school and then in college age.
Hmm.
This is my third startup, by the way. So I don't know, maybe there's something, I seem addicted to building companies at this point,
Yeah.
but, so they give me some insight into the way that generation thinks about it. I think COVID also reworked this, basic social agreement that we had between sort of workers and companies. I think that got really thought through and challenged in a lot of ways when in people quiet quitting and the great resignation,
Hmm.
this huge wave of American entrepreneurialism that we're in the middle of now, where there's tens of millions of new businesses being started every year as people do side hustles and drop out of corporate. And so I think there's a lot of people voting with their checkbook and voting with their feet and their fingers and their computers, and kind of what they want to do and how they want to spend their time and how much money they want to make and what that lifestyle looks like. And I don't think we're at the end of that conversation. I think we're at the beginning of it. And
Hmm.
but AI is certainly a big part of that, and the productivity gains can be a huge disruptor. I mean, for us as a business, yes, it means we need less staff, but I think about it the other way, which is we can do more with less. So actually, we could serve millions of small businesses with
Hmm.
the team rather than say tens of thousands of small businesses. So the way I think about AI for Arrow is it's just 20x essentially the potential scale of the business on an existing budget, or kind of call it infrastructure.
Okay, and yeah, maybe that's a good place to pivot back because I'm curious of like as you look out maybe the next 5 years down the road, and then maybe the ultimate goal for Arrow. Is it acquisition, taking it public, and how you mentioned AI moves so fast. So how do you plan to adapt to, maybe something you don't even see coming in the future from a competition standpoint?
Yeah, I'll answer the last one first because it's the easiest one, which is we just stay radically focused on our user.
Hmm.
We worry about competition. You have to worry about competition, but we worry more about our partners than we do the threats, so to speak. And that's our partners are our users, right? They pay for our service, and so they come first. And I think if you have a great product that people like and use and see the value in, you'll continue to grow. So we just stay radically focused on that, and especially in the way that people interact. I think that's what's really going to change. Like this idea that you log into a web application and interact with the SaaS platform, and you got like 20 SaaS platforms. That's going to go away, and people are going to be interacting with technology through conversation, through personal apps, through an assistant. I mean, so I think we want to stay ahead of that component and give people technology that's easy to use and they can interact with in really interesting and more conversational ways. And I think if
Hmm.
we do those two things, we'll continue to grow,
Hmm.
um, and grow quickly.
Okay. And then maybe to that point with quick growth, what is the ultimate goal? Is it to
Yeah.
see this out as far as you can, or move to acquisition? Just any thoughts you're able to
Yeah,
share on that?
100%. So I think as a startup, there's three things you're going to do. You're either going to IPO, you're going to get acquired, or you're going to build a great business and run it for many years. A business that's highly profitable and um, you
Hmm.
know pays back your constituents, your shareholders, your stakeholders. Um, I think Arrow's probably more of an acquisition play, though. We're going to keep close eye on any kind of on ramps and off ramps there. But I think our user base, and we've done a really good job of of working with this long tail small business, and building a product that that works for them. Um, so I think it's probably an acquisition play. And the other thing I'll say is just as for the startup potential startup audience out there is always build your company with the idea of either an acquisition or an IPO. And what I mean with that is like keep the financials in order, have the infrastructure in place. Even if you're a small team, let's say you're 20 people, but run it at the highest level of business process that you can. And look, you can get an
Hmm.
amazing outsourced finance firm for $1,500 a month nowadays, who will keep your company
Hmm.
in perfect and tip top shape. So that's the best advice I can give: is keep a close eye on that. You don't want to get to a point where you're going to raise or someone's interested in your company and you don't have the paperwork to see it through.
Very nice. Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. And maybe we can shift to kind of that part of the conversation, like I mentioned earlier, and some advice for aspiring entrepreneurs out there. And I'm curious, you said you've started, this is your third startup, correct, or fourth?
Third.
Okay. And I'm curious of your why you chose entrepreneurship and to run and build companies as opposed to maybe a more traditional career path in a corporate position or a doctor, a lawyer. So what's your why?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's hard to answer, actually. I can't say there's one thing other than I found I work really well in small teams. I've tried bigger companies and I just don't enjoy it as much. I think, especially over the last couple of years, I find the excitement and the innovation and the pace of a team of 20 people and kind of what can be accomplished is just really exciting. So it's it's not so much corporate versus non-corporate for me. It's just kind of the size of the team. And My advice for entrepreneurs is, be thoughtful about your startup. You can get to market so quickly nowadays. It used to
Hmm.
be it take longer and more money to get to market, but you can build products so quickly. There's so many no code, low code kind of options for products. So test product market fit before you go all in
Hmm.
is my number one advice. And the number two advice is build the business. Don't don't build a fundraising idea, right? I think a lot of folks think about fundraising first, but the most important thing, and the folks who've raised the most money at the best valuations have a great business idea and they've got proof of that idea. They've got some traction. And when you have those things, trust me, you can raise money in any environment.
Is that also the key to growing or starting a rapidly growing company? Like I think about what you've done with Arrow. I mean, as you look on back on that, what is the key to rapid growth?
Yeah, it's the difference between a business and a startup, right? Like a business is great. It kicks off great cash. It's highly profitable. It can be well run, but it's not a startup. Startups are less about are about that kind of hyper growth.
Hmm.
So yeah, we built Arrow for hyper growth from the beginning, and we focused on really two things. One is a product that's easy to use and can get out into market, and then we focused on a really large market. Like our market size is 41 million folks in the U.S. And it's 9
Hmm.
trillion in economic activity. That's micro businesses, 9 trillion in economic activity. So we really went after a large market. And I think that's another just key component. Like find that area that people aren't looking at and go for it. And then the last thing I'll say is like we also just went for things that like no one's using, like RSS feeds. I don't know when's the last time someone on your podcast was talking about RSS feeds, but there's millions
Yeah.
of them sitting out there and people kind of forgot about it. It's this
Hmm.
massive infrastructure and we were like, we love it. I mean, there's just an endless amount of content there. So that was another
Yeah.
kind of really aha moment here at Arrow.
Okay. Yeah, you're the first, I think, to talk about RSS feeds. So
It's old school,
very cool.
baby.
Yeah.
Old school. Woo, woo.
And then I'm curious what keeps you coming back and showing up every day, and is it financially motivated or is it something else?
I think it is financially motivated, right? Like you've got to be motivated to win,
Hmm.
and success in business comes from an acquisition or how much revenue you generate or the numbers you put on the board. So absolutely, that's critical. I believe in the mission of the company. I do believe that we're doing something that affects people's lives on a daily basis. Like when I say, "Oh, small businesses are being crushed under this," like that's not anecdotal. That's not just like pie in the sky. That's like this is really impacting their lives. Um,
Hmm.
so I just believe in the mission, and that keeps me incredibly motivated.
Okay. One other one I have, and I'm curious on this one for an aspiring entrepreneur. What's the quickest way to fail? when you're starting a business or a startup?
Dude, there's so many ways to fail. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's like saying how many alligators are in the moat. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
a lot. Quickest way to like, what's the potential biggest fail point?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good way to look at it.
Um, in the early stages of the business, well, running out of money, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the biggest problem. It could be choosing the wrong people. Like those first couple folks in the company are absolutely critical. And I would say the third one is, be highly adaptive. Don't be maladaptive in kind of your business processes. Like I know companies that are doing $1 million in ARR and they have 4 people. And when you ask
Hmm.
them, when you say to them, oh, okay, now you're doing it, you need marketing. They don't think, oh, I'm gonna go hire a VP of marketing. They think like, what tech can I plug in here? I mean, it gets back to what you were saying before about disruption. I mean, I see companies now using contractors, outsourcing, and technology in ways that I've never seen before. That's incredibly smart. So just really take a hard look at your business processes and think about like, what's my philosophy? How do I want to do this company? And am I stuck in some kind of older way of like doing things when actually, companies have become very innovative in finding growth through, really smart business processes. So I'd say take a close look at that and read some books and go to some events and talk to some entrepreneurs and just see what other people are doing.
Okay. Yeah, and that kind of leads into the next question I have. Is it just networking or what is it? If someone's thinking, hey, I want to start a business or I want to be a founder, what is the first step they need to take?
You got to get out there. I mean, you've got to be very engaged in building a community of from the VC world, from the startup world, from the tech world. I mean, whatever it is that you do, find that group that doesn't do what you do, right? If you're an amazing technologist, go find people who are great at marketing. If you're great at marketing, go
Hmm.
find some technology folks. So yeah, I mean, look, there's an endless supplies of ways to engage, everything from TechCrunch to platforms to Meetup. I mean, it's pretty much endless. So there's no excuses for not having 5 to 10 meaningful interactions every single day with entrepreneurial communities that are interesting to you, whether it be potential customers or advisors or investors or whatever. And
Hmm.
I'm here in the Bay Area, so it's kind of nice. Like I can go to live events, but I mean, there's just so much stuff online
Yeah.
nowadays. So
Okay. No, I think that's great advice. And then my last question I have here. So someone may not want to start their business, but they want to work for Arrow or they want to work for the next innovative startup. What's the
yeah,
key to getting hired at the next big startup?
take a pay cut. I mean, if you walked
Okay.
in, if you walked in the door of Arrow right now and you're coming from a company, just about any company, you probably take a pay cut right on day one. So you got to believe in the mission, you got to believe in the company, and you got to believe in the exit. That in 2 3 years, your options or your stock is going to be worth something. So that's the key. It's just a different mindset, right? Like, great job, steady
Hmm.
paycheck, one mindset, very less money, huge payout at the end. It's just a different mindset. So you got to decide if that risk profile is right for you. Ask your family, make sure your friends are cool with it and everyone's going to support you. And if you got a good support network, I say go for it.
Hmm.
But yeah, you got to be comfortable with that risk profile for sure.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and I think that's something people need to consider. I'm curious though, with the people that you've hired and the key members of your team, is there anything they did that stood out in the hiring process, or did you go out and kind of hunt down who you wanted? Um, any
I would
insight
say
you could share
both.
there?
Yeah, it's come both ways. Some have been inbound and some outbound. But nothing special in the hiring process, Connor. Just finding good people who are great at what they do.
Okay, yeah, that sounds simple enough. And so, um, I think I'm good on my end. So just to close this out here, I'll give the floor to you, and you can close with where people can find you and more information about Arrow.
Yeah, that sounds great. So you can check us out online, or let me start at the top. My name is Rolan Reichel. I'm the CEO and founder of Arrow AI. We're a content marketing tool for small businesses and solopreneurs. You can find us at www.getarrow.ai. And we're also running an amazing affiliate program that we just kicked off. So we've got about 20 affiliates right now who are doing really well with that program. It's a lifetime commission based on users who sign up. So take a look at that. That's on our website as well. Of course, feel free to follow us on social media. Just get Arrow on either Facebook, Instagram, or find me on LinkedIn and DM me directly.
All right. Thanks, Roland. And yeah, I'll put as many links as I can find in the description. So your LinkedIn profile, your website, your socials, everything. So guys, go check out the description and yeah, connect with Roland and Arrow. So thanks for taking the time, Roland, and wish you best of luck.
Thanks, Connor. Pleasure to be here.